let's talk about all the books that I read in February. Like January, I actually went through quite a few Frida books this month. So I started out with The Boyfriend and I listened to this one on audio, and I thought that I knew where the twist was going from the beginning. I'm like, this is so obvious. I totally know what's about to happen, but I tell you, my jaw was on the floor. I will say that the ending felt a little bit rushed, so I only gave it 4 stars, but this book was very good. I then listened to The Apprentice to the Villain, which is the sequel to Assistant to the Villain, and I am so excited for the 3rd book in the series. I believe it comes out in like August or September. It's just the perfect cozy like fairy tale vibe book. It's not super heavy on the world building, but it does have like the magical elements and stuff, which I love. This book was a solid 4 stars. Next up was The Berry Pickers. This book was good, but I will say it is a little bit anticlimactic, so if that's not your cup of tea, this book might not be for you. It does tell you pretty much from the get-go how the whole story is gonna go. But overall, I really enjoyed listening to the story and the journey that it took me on, so I gave it a solid 4 stars. I then read The Crash and I gave this 3 stars. I heard a lot of mixed things about this one, and I will say I did enjoy the end especially, but it felt a little bit rushed, and it 100% could have been at least 100 pages shorter than what it was. It just felt a little bit dragged on, and there wasn't much happening in the middle of it. I then listened to One by One by Frida McFadden, and I actually really enjoyed this book. Once again, I did not see that twist coming. And I think the length of the book was good. The pace was very good. It wasn't really dragging on. However, at times I was definitely like, is this really important? At the end, it all kind of tied up with a perfect little bow, and I rated it 3.5 stars. I then listened to One Small Mistake, and I highly, highly, highly recommend listening to this book on audio because of the accents. It is so perfect, and I feel like it just really adds to the entire reading experience. This book was incredible. I have not seen anybody talk about it, but it was so freaking good. I kind of thought I knew where this was going, but it did surprise me a little bit in a good way, and it had me hooked right from the beginning. This was a super fast-paced read. 5 stars all the way. I did DNF Onyx Storm in part because my library hold was only for about 10 days, and there was no way I was going through this book in 10 days while in law school and working full-time. So I just let it go back to the library after reading about 150 pages. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy reading the book, but it's just not as good as Fourth Wing. Iron Flame was not as good as Fourth Wing, so I think I'm going to come back to this one once the entire series is out because I really just don't want to have to reread the series in between like releases of the books. And then we have my lowest rated book of the month. That is I Who Have Never Known Men, and I heard very good things about this. It is very highly rated, and luckily it is a shorter story because I got nothing out of this book. I see people saying that like that's the whole point in the book is to not have answers, but for me it was very anticlimactic, and there's stuff going on in this book that you never get a single explanation for, and that's just not my cup of tea.